Good morning, Elizabeth Moore here, and today we are on part 4 of our series of what is holding us back. So, this is one of the hot buttons. This is probably the most frequently asked question that I get, and that is, how do I get past the guilt of taking time away, from my family and using that time to work on myself? So, it seems like mommy guilt, daddy guilt, is just one of those gifts that we are given, the second that we become parents. Now, it's not just mommy guilt and daddy guilt that we're going to be talking about here, because we all feel guilt. But there are infinite numbers of reasons that we can feel guilty. However, most of them, not all, but most of them fall into one of two categories. And those are things we can't control, and things that are no big deal in the grand scheme of things. So, first of all, let's talk about why we feel guilt. One of the main reasons is because we are very hard on ourselves. We hold ourselves to a higher standard than we would hold somebody else. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. And then the other thing why we feel guilt is because we tend to internalize, when things go right or wrong, we take that as a reflection on us, as a reflection on our efforts and our abilities. And so if something goes wrong, we think that it was our fault, and that is why we feel that guilt. So I'm going to give you 5 tips for helping you to ditch that guilt. And I wrote them down because I will never remember them all. So, first one, decide if it's something that you should truly regret. So this is where we need to figure out, is it something that I can actually control? And this is where we want to ask ourselves, if my friend came to me, with this same thing, would I tell her that she should feel guilty about it as well? Because we hold ourselves to a higher standard. So if our answer is no, we wouldn't tell our friend that they should feel guilty about it. Then why are we feeling guilty about it? Something to think about. Step 2, change your logic. Remember that guilt is your inner critic coming out. The terms good and bad are extremely judgmental. So if we're calling ourselves, oh, well, I was a good mom today, or I was a bad mom today, you're putting that judgment on yourself. Society is not giving you that judgment. You're the one that's casting that judgment on yourself. So instead of calling yourself a bad mom, change the way you think about it. Say, I'm a mom, who did the best I could today with what I was given. Change the way you talk to yourself and the way you label yourself. Don't be so judgmental towards yourself. Third tip, learn to let stuff go, right? Pick your battles. Life isn't about being perfect. It's about deciding, what is worth fighting for and what's worth feeling guilty for. Ask yourself this question. If I don't do whatever, is somebody going to get hurt? Are my kids going to get hurt? Is somebody going to die if I don't do this? Most of the time what we're feeling guilty about, if we feel guilty like we didn't do the dishes last night, or, our house isn't perfectly clean, or our kids left the house in mismatched clothes, is somebody going to get hurt? No. Somebody going to die? No. So it's not something that you need to regret and that you need to feel guilty about. You can get back to those things later on. So ditch that guilt when it comes to that. Fourth thing, remember, the grass is always greener on the other side. Working moms feel guilty because they feel like they're not spending enough time with their families. Stay-at-home moms feel guilty because they're not contributing financially to their family. The grass is always greener on the other side. We feel guilty because we're not comparing, or because we are comparing ourselves to others. Don't compare yourself to others. That comparison is the thief of joy. You are what your kids need. So stop comparing yourself to that. And the 5th tip I have is give yourself a break. We all do things we regret. We all yell. We all would rather poke our eyes out than play Barbies, after the 95th time at the end of a long day. Give yourself a break. Remember that you are human. If you do something that you feel guilty about, apologize. But don't dwell on it. Apologize and keep moving forward. That's the best thing that we can do. We've been conditioned to believe that we have to do everything. And if we can't do everything, then that means something is wrong with us. And that's not true. When you're starting to feel those feelings of guilt, run it through that filter. Is it something you can control? Is it a big deal in the grand scheme of things? Is somebody going to die if you do something or if you don't do something? And would you tell your friend that they should feel guilty if they were in the same situation? Run it through that filter. If the answer, is no, then I shouldn't feel guilty, then don't feel guilty. Stop dwelling on that guilt. Keep moving forward. Do the best you can and forget the rest. You are enough with what you are doing. Just keep doing your best. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope these tips helped. Like I said, this is the most frequently asked question I get, so I was super excited to come on and share some of my best tips with you today. I hope that you all have a really great day.